Please excuse me if I look like I have been sweating. Humidity is on like 100 today. My name's Tina Marie Jane. You're at the right channel. Today I wanted to just iron out some confusion when it comes to what are my beliefs. People keep asking me. Let's just start crystal clear before I get into what my beliefs are as of today. So when I first started this channel, I started this channel as 100% believer in God and the Bible. But I also started this channel after leaving a cult, about 1 year after leaving a cult. Even though I believed in God, I was very traumatized from the cult I was a part of, which is what birthed this channel, essentially. I've been tracking my journey on this channel, going where the wind blows me. I never really had any intentions or any agendas behind this channel until I started to see how many people really could relate to how I felt when it comes to leaving the same cult I was in, or even another cult. It's been a year since I've had this channel out, and my beliefs have gradually changed. I did not wake up one day and say, okay, this is gonna be my belief, and then wake up another day and say, okay, now this is gonna be my new belief. What actually started me going from 100% believer was one day I decided I think I'm ready to read the Bible again and do research and learn what religion really is all about and how did it come about. By me deciding to get back into the Bible and learning about God after I had to go through my own personal healing from the spiritual abuse that I had went through when I was a part of a cult, I ended up learning a lot more things than what I had intended to. I started to question things. And this time when I questioned things, I didn't just pass it and sweep it under the rug. I kind of want to learn a little bit more. And as I began learning a little bit more, I also began learning about other things too. Things that were always taboo, like meditating and yoga. I mean, simple things like yoga, a lot of Christians are against. You'd be surprised. Not all, but there are some. All these different things, what people like to call woo-woo, new age. I didn't put all of the things into practice. I kept what worked for me and I left out what didn't work. I always felt like Christianity was a standard I had to uphold, and it was a ladder I had to climb up to be good enough. I decided, you know what, I'm not going to call myself a Christian anymore because I don't want this label to define me. By this time, I considered myself more spiritual, but I did not want to label myself because, as I said before, I didn't want labels to define me because I am more than just a label. I am me, and I want people to know who I am. I want people to know me, to know Tina. And this is when I stopped using labels. Shortly after, I started to make a shift from believing in Jesus and God of the Bible to believing in a higher power and being a little skeptical about Jesus. I just started to think to myself, a lot of these stories never made sense to me, and to be 100% honest with you, even when I was younger, I didn't believe these stories were actually real. I always thought they were meant to just inspire and to just be a good story to tell. And I still see it that way to this day. I never actually 100% believed in all these stories that sound crazy in the Bible. I never believed that they actually happened. I started to really question a lot of things, and I started to think to myself, you know what, I don't know if God in the Bible is even real, because when I started to really read the Bible a little more, I thought, geez, God is such a jerk off. People took offense to that. That just led me to want to know more. Like, why do people take this so offensively? I mean, I know it's because they're a Christian, but how do they not read what I just read and think the same thoughts? How do they not read the exact same book, the Holy Bible, and think to themselves, you know, God seems kind of mean, like he could be really hardcore. I paid more attention to the Old Testament, whereas before, when I was going to church, I was always told to just pay attention to the New Testament, the beauty of it. Jesus is loving, Jesus is merciful. But I never really questioned, why don't we ever read the Old Testament? So anyway, I ended up going from believing in God to believing some higher power. I continue to call that higher power God at this point, and I thought to myself, I believe that something created us. I believe that something has some sort of rule over the earth, over the universe, I should say. Then it wasn't until probably about a few short months ago when I really began to take a really deep look and think to myself, do I really believe that there is a God at all? Do I believe that this higher power has that much power? The Bible says that God can move mountains, but there's so many things going on in this world and God doesn't seem to really do much about it. And I understand how that sounds. I know that sounds horrible to say. I left religion shortly after I left the cult that I was a part of. I just did not want to be a part of religion. When I really looked and like took a step back and looked at what religion really does to people, I was just like, oh no, I don't want to have any part of this. It was a combination of different things. It was a combination of my own personal views and emotions that I felt towards religion, as well as the indoctrination I had been given when I was a part of my cult. What the hell would I call myself if I needed a label? I mean, people always ask me, what do you believe in? And I would say, I believe in some sort of higher power. I just don't believe in religion. I don't believe in God. So fast forwarding to today, I can now say that I just simply do not know. I don't know if these things are real. So I've come to the conclusion, guys, that I am now at the level of agnosticism. For those of you who are not 100% sure, so that you know exactly what I mean when I say I am agnostic. A person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or of anything beyond material phenomena. A person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God. So there you have it, guys. I am agnostic. I lean more towards not necessarily believing in God. I am leaning further and further away from believing that Jesus even ever existed, and I do not believe that the Bible stories are true or even real. I don't believe in the God of the Bible, but I've always believed in God. I've always believed in Jesus. This is just something that I was told to believe in from birth. Like, I've never had anything else to believe in. But even though I don't believe in God necessarily, I also kind of feel like I don't really know. So I'm not here to say, oh, God isn't real, there's no proof, I 100% know there's no such thing as God. I don't say that because I wasn't there. I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe it could be possible, but unless I'm seeing any actual evidence and things like to really make sense to me, I kind of really lean towards no. Please understand that this video is not very easy for me to speak on. I know I'm gonna get a lot of backlash, but this is YouTube, I have to get used to it. I'm just being honest with you guys, and I think as people, it's important that we all be honest. Whether you are a believer or a non-believer, we cannot lie and hide. We have to say, you know what, this is me. At the end of the day, I'm still a person. So regardless of what my personal beliefs are, they don't define who I am as an individual. When I was a Christian, I always assumed that non-Christians were just faithless beings walking the earth aimlessly with no mission, no goal. I felt so sorry for non-believers, and I just kind of always wondered where they get their morals from. People have asked me, where do I get my morals from? And I just tell them the straight up truth. I believe that morals are important, and even though when I was a Christian, I always thought you had to be a believer in God, or even if it was like the Muslim God, just some kind of God in order to have morals. Now as a non-believer, I see that that's not true. What else also helped lead me to where I am today versus when I was raised in Christianity and was a Christian as an adult in my 20s. I've experienced things that I never experienced as a Christian. I experienced life-changing things. I'm not talking about physical events, I'm talking about from within. When I was a Christian, I always wondered, how do people who are non-believers have peace? How do they feel joy and happiness without God's voice or God's love, or without the community of church? And now as a non-believer, I feel even more at peace than I did when I was a Christian, and I feel more love. I have love for myself, and I don't think I've ever actually had that, because if I did, I would have known that feeling before. When I started to lean towards agnostic, unintentional, totally unintentional, I really started to see like, wow, life has so much to it. Like, there's so much to life, and I started to just kind of find God in my own way. And I know a lot of believers don't like to hear this. I know my husband's one of them. He thinks it sounds completely stupid. I started to find God in other things. I started to find God in meditation. I started to find God in nature. And that was my version of God. I think that we all have our own version of God, and majority of people who have their version of God have it based on the Holy Bible. But if you don't believe in the Holy Bible, and you don't believe the Bible to be true, and you don't believe that God to be true, then you might have your own other version of God. Whatever that is, that's your business. No one can say anything. No one can say, you're an atheist, or there's only one God. All right, well, that one God is your version of God. I'm not saying that there's a bunch of different gods out there. I'm just saying that everyone has their own way to have that peace. And not everybody's a Christian. Not everybody's a believer. Not everyone believes in any God at all. Some people even believe they're a God. I don't necessarily believe I'm God. I feel like that's a bit much for me to say I'm God. But I do feel like I connect with myself a lot more now than when I was a Christian, because when I was a Christian, I didn't have the positivity I have now. I didn't have the joy. I didn't have the peace. And I'm not saying my life is perfect. Our life will never be perfect. And even as a Christian, your life will not be perfect. I think that a lot of Christians like to hype up the religion and make it seem like your life is so easy and carefree. Just go to God and give it to God, and my life is beautiful. And that's all bullcrap. Your life still sucks. I realized that we have more control and more power over our own life than we believe, and than what people like to at least give us enough credit for. One of the scary things that I found myself having to deal with when leaving faith and leaving the religion behind was kind of just getting a lot of hate, or getting backlash, or what are my friends gonna say? What is my family gonna say? It's really scary, and it's still scary now, but it gets easier and easier as the days go on. And if you surround yourself with loving people, no matter what their religion is, and they're accepting of you and they embrace you with true, real compassion and love, then that really does help you on your journey out of religion. One of the life-changing things that I had learned and realized when I found myself getting further and further away from Christianity was that I started to really see that I think I have a little more control over my life than I've always been taught. When you're a Christian, you're often told that you can't do it without God. If you get a job, then everyone's like, oh, praise God, thank God. You were told that you're pre-diabetic, and then you started to eat healthier, you started to exercise. None of that credit's going to be given to you. It's always God. Well, God this and God that, and thank God, praise the Lord, I prayed for you, and now you're healthier. When in reality, what made you healthy was eating better and exercising. So I always was one of those Christians who gave all credit to God. I just instantly, no matter what I did to change my situation or to make things happen, I was always like, it's God, it's God, it's God. And I always attributed everything that happened in my life that was good to God. I'm broke, and then all of a sudden I find $100. I'm like, oh, that's God. Or really, it's just me. Like, I hid the $100 from myself, didn't know that I forgot that I hid it from myself, because I forget everything, and then I found it. And it's just an example. It didn't actually happen. I would like to find $100. That would be nice. I've always attributed all of my successes to only God. I was always told to thank God in advance. Even to this day, my mom texted me the other day and she's like, you gotta thank God for that. Thank God. God got you that. God got you through that. And in my mind, for the first time, I did not say, yes, you're right, I thank God. In my mind, I was just like, no, I did this. Like, I actively did the things I needed to do in order to get this, and that's how I got it. And now what I believe is that we can create a lot more than we think. And I already know Christians are gonna go ham on this video in the comment section. All I'm saying is that we do have more control. That's when Christians say, well, then you're trying to play God. You can't play God. You're not God. No one's trying to play God. All I'm saying is that we do have more control over things in our life. And I did not know that until I started to take control over my life. I started taking control over how I feel, and over my own personal energy, certain negative thoughts that I had. And then I started to see my life really change. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, I did that. When I really started to experience that, and I really started to see I'm manifesting these beautiful things in my life, and I'm manifesting these beautiful people in my life, then I started to see I didn't pray for those things. I didn't go to God and ask for those things. I didn't ask God if it's okay for me to have these things. I just went out and did it on my own, and I got it done. So as a non-believer, I do feel happier. I do feel more at peace and more calm because I don't feel that pressure. Here goes another thing that Christians love to say whenever you tell them that you're no longer a Christian or that you don't believe in these things. One of their favorite go-to lines to say is, well, you just don't want to follow the Bible, you don't want to follow God, you want to live your life, you want to do your own thing, you want to be rebellious, or I'm just being angry, I'm bitter. Or they assume that the reason why I'm no longer a believer is because of my experience in the ICOC. No, I don't just want to do my own thing, because if you knew what goes on in my mind, the things I actually would like to do, I don't do them because I do have morals and I have values, and that is not something that has to come from religion. So no, I don't just want to do my own thing. It has nothing to do with rebellion, and it has nothing to do with my past experience. I made sure when I decided, you know what, I am not a Christian anymore, when I came to that conclusion, I kept my emotional feelings from what I went through in the ICOC separate from my current feelings of what I feel towards religion. What really took me away from believing at all was seeing that there was no actual evidence and seeing so many things not make sense. I just started to realize like all these questions I have about God, and there's no answer to it, and people try to answer and try to say the Bible, the Bible, the Bible, but I don't even trust whoever wrote the Bible. I mean, I wasn't there. Were you there? You weren't even there neither. I know it's gonna get a lot of backlash and comments from a lot of people, but that's okay. You have to be true to yourself. If you can't be true to yourselves, you can't be true to other people. You must be honest with yourself and live within that honesty. Your honesty does not have to be validated by other people. If you are not a believer, don't pretend to be one. Don't try to convince yourself that you believe. There was a point in time where I continued to try to convince myself out of fear of whatever consequence and fear of hell. You have to be true to yourself, because that's the only time you'll find real peace. Also understand, for those of you who are exiting religion or who have recently exited religion and find yourselves leaning towards skepticism or even beyond that, like now you're like, okay, I really don't believe anymore. People are not always going to be happy with your choices. They're not going to always be happy with your honesty. As you can see here on this channel, I'm saying they're going to pray for me because apparently I need fixing. You just have to be happy. You gotta be fine with that. You gotta be happy with who you are, and you just gotta say, you know what, screw that. If people don't like it, that's too freaking bad. You just have to try your best to be the most loving, compassionate person and love everyone, no matter what their religion is. Even though I know there's Christians out there that do not like me, I love people for who they are. I'm not gonna say I love my neighbor like the Bible says, because if I don't know you, and you know, there's a possibility I might not even like you. I try to stay away from drama, and I just try to be a loving and positive person. It doesn't matter what your belief is. Don't allow what you believe in to determine who you are as a person or to show other people who you are. Because besides your religion, besides your anti-religion, you are still a person, and you deserve respect just as well as anybody else. In the same way, you also should make sure that you're giving respect the way that you want to receive it. So you cannot focus on what people are going to say about you. You can't pay attention or allow what other people to say about you or what other people think of you to make you second guess yourself. You kind of just got to ride the waves and just shrug your shoulders. Sorry that you're upset that I don't have the same belief as you, but there's way too many people in this world for you to expect everyone to believe what you believe in. If you would like to share your XICOC or XICC story, send me an email or a message on social media. My email and social media accounts are down below in the description box. I've got the link there, as well as my website. You just left religion or you just left a cult and you feel like you kind of need a little help and you're thinking of doing some coaching with me, then book a free discovery call. Disclaimer, the discovery calls are not meant for me to give you advice. They are meant for me to analyze and evaluate your situation and what areas you need help in, as well for you to see if you even want to get coaching with me. If you don't want to do a 12-week coaching program, it's too much of a commitment for you, you feel like you're not ready for that, that is just fine. I also have my clarity calls, so if you just want advice and you really feel like you need it, I have the link down below as well for that. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much. I'll see you later.